Now we come to the place where we release the booklet, and then I'll request Vidush to talk about this write-up, the why we thought of writing this and bringing the entire issue on table, so that the recommendations from the industry, from the legal point of view, from the users, and from the policymakers all converge together. Over to you, Vidush.
Good morning, everybody. I think the inaugural session we've heard Justice Mudgal actually giving a perspective right from his days as a lawyer when he actually argued the Dr. Lakshmanan case, which as lawyers and as lawyers to gaming companies, we've all quoted extensively across all high courts, across all our opinions. So I think we owe a bit of our legal fees to him on that. So I think thank you for that. Srinath also brought about really interesting points, and I think very issue to some extent has been tackled with the meaty saying that it's no more really a moral issue because they've come out with rules. But again, inevitably the politicians and the bureaucrats, when the election time is coming, do consider it. So while as utopian view we may think that it is not a moral issue, but eventually prior to election, everything becomes a moral issue. So, but yeah, it's a very important point. Responsible gaming, again, something that I've been reading. The EGF has been doing really good work. AIGF has been doing really good work. They are coming out with, I think, de-addiction issues. They're coming out with helping in dementia. I think during COVID, a lot of the gaming companies actually ended up distributing a lot of masks and a lot of other equipment to the needy. So it's not that the gaming industry is not doing, it just needs to be publicized a bit more. I think that's something that we can do. Why this paper? Now, what we felt is, yes, there is a chatter that is happening. The meaty rules are excellent. It's a really something that will spur this industry. The AGGC policy, along with the meaty rules, are really going to spur this sector. And to all credit to Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji for coming out with such a comprehensive rules on that aspect. Certain things which we thought were missing, which required an independent view, because all of us as gaming companies, as federations, as people involved, have certain biases built in. But I thought there is some legal arguments or some issues that needed to be looked independently, and I think that's where we, Aruna ma'am, and we thought, let us just put it down, let us make it an aspect of discussion. We're not saying we are right, we're not saying we are wrong. We just want this to be points that need to be discussed. And I think that's the reason we have this roundtable, that we want these issues to be discussed and have a conclusion which is quite understood rather than just going with the flow. One of the issues of the ambiguities we thought in the rules that has come in is that they seek to prohibit any wagering on an outcome of an event. And that is such an ambiguous statement that if somebody interprets it strictly, the entire real money gaming industry will go down the drain. And from what I understand, the whole reason for making these rules was that they wanted a proper structure, a proper central regulation, which would spur this industry, and they will remove any policy ambiguity in the sense of what games are allowed and what is not. But with this kind of wording, there I think some more ambiguity has been built in. Why I particularly say this is because, one, when the SRBs are formed, they will have to function within these rules. They cannot go beyond these. The second issue that will also come in is aspect that if an SRB allows a game, that they say that the game is approved. Practically, when we deal with the police officers, with the authorities at the lower level, or even with GST authorities, to what extent will they accept that kind of a decision of a self-regulatory body, which is not a government or a sovereign body, or a body having sovereign backing? Because to explain to a SHO or a IO that I have got some certification from a self-regulatory body is itself a task. So I think that's going to be a challenge that the industry is going to face, and I think that's a part of our recommendation that maybe we need to address that a bit better. The second issue I thought we've discussed in the paper is effective implementation. Now, SRB or SRO can only go to a certain level, because that's we've seen in ASCII, we've seen in the BCCC. So it's various self-regulatory bodies in advertisement or the broadcasting space. At the most, they can pass a remark, a reprimand, and maybe an expulsion from the membership of that particular self-regulating body. But the gaming industry is such where, and I think some people are moving out of the country whenever they are some authorities take action against them, and then they are acting with complete, as we say, in a lazy sphere. They have no regulation then acting against them. So we need to have a stronger system of imposing certain bans or imposing bans on games which are not approved. I think that's something that again needs to be discussed and looked at. The next aspect also I thought we needs to be discussed a bit more is what is fantasy sport? Because from what I understand, fantasy sport is also, yes, a very high degree of skill involved in it, much, but it's still wagering an outcome of an event, because it's, in essence, I'm picking a player. If he performs better, then I get further points, and then if I get the maximum points, I win the game. And everything is related to real life sporting event, especially for fantasy sports. So again, how this will play out with this ban on wagering an outcome of an event. Having said and argued the same case that wagering on outcome of an event, quoting the Lakshmanan case in Madras High Court, in Karnataka High Court, in Punjab and Haryana High Court, to see how fantasy sport is similar as wagering on outcome of an event, and therefore is not a game of chance. And even Madras High Court even going up to saying that what is banned or what can be regulated is wagering on a game of chance and not wagering on a game of skill. That is what the Madras High Court ended up saying, that is what the limited purview of a state government is. So therefore, now with this kind of a ban coming in, what is actually getting regulated? Because if real money gaming is not going to be regulated and the MITI, then it may become hollow. So maybe we need a clarification, or we need a body to that extent. So considering these challenges, what we ended up recommending in the report is that maybe we have a dual system. The first instance will always be the self-regulatory body, which will do the peer-to-peer discussions, which will come up with policies, which will recommend policies to the government, as well as maybe be the first instance of a dispute resolution if a game has to be approved, or for that matter, has to be banned. But in second instance, will always have to be a skill gaming commission will need to be set up by MITI. And the second level regulation will have to come from them, because it's only then the authorities lower down the chain will obey it. So I think that's one of the recommendations that we thought could come out. Second is we need a clear definition of what exactly is gaming, because gaming, gambling, betting has been used interchangeably across all state acts, across the central act, across the decisions of the courts as well. So even as a lawyer, I've struggled to distinguish between it. Somebody asked me the difference. I said, I don't know, because nobody's actually defined it and differentiated it. So I think that's again something that needs to come out in the rules itself. Third is, as I discussed, the issue of SRBs. First instance, second instance, we need to have a dual system that needs to come in. And a regular mechanism of a peer-to-peer review, maybe a quarterly or a monthly, and how they will submit reports to the government, or how they need to keep changing their policies. Because it's not only the MITI policy that is going to affect it, it's going to be the AGGC policies, it is going to be the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting policies. So it's multiple policies, multiple levels. So we'll have to create some kind of task force which will include all of the departments of the government, including the SRBs, who will then have dialogues to come out with a better regulation of this industry. It's an excellent start, these new rules, but I think we need to achieve a bit more. So with that, I thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So for bringing it out, and you will find that the third session we have especially focused on the SROs, because that will be the trigger point for the next levels of SRB and the regulatory body which the government will bring. And that is where we find a big vacuum of SROs coming up with the parameters.